A lot of people think effort and thinking are the same. They're not. Let me show you. All right. So actually one of my buddies has asked me to do a video on this. It's going into thinking tokens and effort. So effort is just the thinking. Like a lot of people actually think that we're just manipulating how much is being thought or how many thinking tokens are produced as part of a response. But it's actually more than that. I should have seen a video where a guy was also saying that, but it's three things. It's these three things. So it's text response and explanations, how much Claude tells you about what it's doing. It's tool calls and function arguments, how many actions it takes to get there, and then thinking. So thinking tokens is one of three things that we manipulate if we manipulate the effort level. And you can also turn thinking off, right, and leave effort still on, right, or on high. So it's not a one-to-one map. And to show you where that is actually written down is here in the Claude platform docs for effort. And again, here you'll see text response, explanations, tool calls, thinking when active. And then ultimately it's basically up to high. I think you turn it off. You could turn thinking off. There will just be longer, more thorough responses. And why it's, I think, important with the tool calling is obviously because if you turn the thinking levels down, you turn the effort levels down, you also risk just wrong tool calls or incomplete tool calls. So it definitely has also impact on the quality of the result. And that isn't purely the thinking tokens, right? Anyway, so what does that mean? It doesn't just think less, it also acts less, right? If your tool calls combine into one, straight to action. So if your agent feels lazy, you should look at effort. And as well as before you look into, okay, I should switch from Opus to Fable order. And again, also how much it tells you. Usually I use Opus with X high. That's kind of my default. So thinking is just one of those things. And we used to have to actually set thinking tokens or budget tokens, especially in API calls. And also you had adaptive thinking, which I think now is legacy. But there's another thing here, which is very important, which is it breaks the caching. So if you go in and you are on, this is on X high, like I was saying, and you go to max or you go down, it will basically say your next response will be slower and use more tokens. So it's basically breaking the cache, and it will introduce a lot more initial cost on the first call, because then everything will be written to the cache again. And that will obviously cost you money. And I think option T, you can turn thinking on or off. So you can do it without thinking, but I wouldn't recommend it unless it's really, really dumb work under the trade-off of using more tokens and hitting your subscription levels faster. But again, especially if your context is very full, I would not recommend to switch the effort level. I'll probably just roll with it unless you're sure that you will spend another hour in the same context window. Then it might be worth it. It's a trade-off, right? All right, and then there's this other thing when it comes to thinking, which is ultrathink. They used to, I don't know if they still do that because I never use it. Okay, so you still see this be highlighted, right, when you type it out. So that is actually the keyword that works, but think harder. These are just handed as text. They also used to, maybe a year ago, become red or orange. So it used to also be special tokens, but it's not anymore. So it's just the same as prompt text. Anyway, so default for things like 4.7 or Opus in general will be, I think, high. Routine edits, you can go lower, medium, feature work, higher, X high. You do agent stuff, I wouldn't go under X high, but again, I always use X high. I barely ever run out of my $200 max subscription, so I just use X high. And max is prone to overthinking, so it's not always, more isn't always better, so that's why X high for me is the best trade-off between depth and no overthinking. You can set those in the skill, front matter, whatever. Effort doesn't stick. You can also look at the N4. Anyway, usually it works, but I slopped together this presentation, so anyway, it's some bullshit. Anyway, so that's the difference. I think it's very important to understand, especially to fine-tune cost versus efficiency versus output, right? Anyway, if any of this stuff sounds interesting to you, I'll see you in the next video.